Have you ever wondered why the same painful patterns keep repeating in your life? Do you find yourself reacting emotionally in ways that don't align with your current reality? The wounds we carry from childhood shape so much of who we are today, often in ways we don't even realize. When we think about our past, many of us have vivid memories of our first moments of joy, love, and connection. But just as much as we have those moments of happiness, we also carry the pain of rejection, neglect, abandonment, or even neglect that we may have experienced. These early experiences, whether subtle or extreme, leave a deep impression on us, often becoming unconscious drivers of our thoughts, actions, and decisions as adults. From the moment we are born, we are in a constant process of learning how to be in the world. Our parents, caregivers, and the environments we are raised in have an undeniable impact on our development. Children are incredibly sensitive, and everything from a parent's tone of voice to the way they respond to our needs can shape how we view ourselves and the world. When these needs go unmet, or when the people we rely on are emotionally unavailable or inconsistent, we learn that love, care, and safety are conditional. That becomes our truth. But that truth isn't something we consciously choose. It is imprinted upon us when we are too young to challenge it or even understand it. As we grow older, these unresolved wounds begin to show up in our lives in ways we may not immediately connect back to that original source. We might find ourselves consistently choosing relationships where we don't feel loved the way we truly deserve. We might push people away or settle for love that doesn't meet our needs because, deep down, we are unconsciously replicating the abandonment or neglect we experienced as children. We begin to feel that this is the only type of love we deserve, because in some strange way, it feels familiar. The fear of fully opening up to someone else becomes overwhelming because we fear they'll leave, just as we experienced earlier in life. This pattern is incredibly insidious because it doesn't just affect romantic relationships, it spills into every aspect of our lives. We might struggle to truly trust others, even those closest to us. We may find ourselves seeking approval or validation from external sources, never feeling enough on our own. It's like we are perpetually chasing after something that we can't quite reach. A sense of love and worth that feels just out of grasp. In moments of silence, we may even hear that inner voice telling us we'll never be good enough, or that we'll always be alone in some way, that nothing will ever be whole inside of us. But what happens when we confront these wounds, when we stop running from the parts of ourselves that have been hurt and abandoned? What if we could go back to that child within us and show them that the love they needed back then is still available now? Healing the inner child means revisiting those moments in time, whether it's the feeling of being abandoned when your parent left, or the moment when you first learned that your emotions didn't matter. It's looking at those moments through adult eyes, offering compassion, and allowing ourselves to recognize that those experiences were not our fault. We weren't unworthy of love. We were just children doing our best in a world that didn't always meet our needs. By facing these early wounds, we break free from the unconscious patterns they've created. We can start to see where we've been sabotaging our own happiness or settling for less than we deserve. The healing process isn't quick or easy, but it begins the moment we are willing to acknowledge that the things we've been carrying from our past don't have to define our future. We no longer have to repeat those old patterns or carry that pain forward. The key here is awareness. Once we become aware of these wounds and patterns, we can start the healing process by doing the deep inner work necessary to reconnect with ourselves. This means acknowledging the child who didn't get what they needed, letting them know that they are safe now and that the love they deserve is not only possible but already inside of them. When we reconnect with this part of ourselves, we can finally let go of the unconscious need to recreate old patterns and begin to forge healthier relationships and a healthier sense of self. It's important to understand that healing is not about erasing the past or pretending those wounds never existed. It's about integrating the experiences, learning from them, and then using that wisdom to move forward. You are not defined by your past. What happened to you is a part of your story, but it does not determine your worth or your future. You deserve love, acceptance, and peace. And until you heal your inner child, you will keep seeking that love in the wrong places or expecting others to heal wounds that only you can address. It all starts with accepting that the past is part of you, but it doesn't need to control you anymore. When you take the time to heal those wounds, you no longer walk through life with that unconscious sense of unworthiness or fear of being hurt again. Instead, you can walk with your head held high, knowing that the love you seek doesn't come from someone else, it starts with you. And once you begin this journey of healing, everything in your life starts to shift, your relationships improve, your sense of self-worth grows, and the emotional patterns that once controlled you lose their power. Only then can you truly feel whole, loved, and free. You have the power to change your story. When we talk about healing the inner child, it's not just a process of revisiting painful memories or wounds from our past. It's about discovering how those past experiences shaped our beliefs about ourselves, others, and the world around us. You might be thinking, what does my childhood have to do with my adult life? The answer is everything. The beliefs and patterns we develop as children remain deeply embedded in our subconscious and govern much of our behavior as adults. They dictate how we show up in relationships, how we view our worth, and how we react to the challenges life throws at us. Think about it for a moment. As children, we don't have the cognitive tools to fully understand or process the emotional experiences we go through. So if we experience neglect, criticism, or abandonment, we don't have the capacity to realize that these actions don't define us. Instead, we internalize them. A child might think, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve love, or I'm not worthy of attention. These thoughts don't just vanish when we grow up. They follow us, hidden in the background of our psyche, quietly influencing our decisions, our relationships, and how we see ourselves in the world. For many of us, the belief that we are unworthy of love or attention becomes a lens through which we view all of our interactions. This belief can create walls around us, walls that are often hard to break down because they have been built over years of being misunderstood or ignored. The way we were treated in childhood becomes the blueprint for how we expect to be treated as adults. Even if it's not healthy or fulfilling, the child who learned to believe that love was conditional or unavailable grows into an adult who either fears vulnerability or constantly seeks validation from others, often to the point of sacrificing their own needs in the process. But here's the thing. That inner child, the one who felt abandoned, rejected, or unseen, still lives inside of you. And that child needs your attention. They need to hear that the things they went through were not their fault. They need to know that they are loved and valued for who they are, not for what they can do or how they behave to gain approval. Without doing this inner work, that child continues to carry the scars of the past, and those scars affect how you interact with the world today. We've all heard the phrase, you can't love someone else until you love yourself, but there's a deeper layer to this. You can't fully love yourself until you heal the wounds from your past. Until you acknowledge the pain you experienced, it will continue to dictate the way you approach love and relationships. The reason many of us find ourselves in toxic relationships or repeating unhealthy patterns is that we have not taken the time to recognize the unresolved hurt inside us. We unconsciously attract the very things that echo our childhood experiences, thinking that somehow, this time, we can fix what was broken before. The truth is, if we don't take the time to heal those wounds, we are bound to keep reliving them in one form or another. And it's not just about the romantic relationships we attract. It can affect every aspect of our lives. We might find ourselves in jobs or friendships where we feel undervalued, or we might find it difficult to assert ourselves or set boundaries because, deep down, we believe that we are undeserving of respect or love. These patterns show up in subtle ways, but they are rooted in the same core belief that we are somehow broken or less than, and that we have to earn love or prove our worth. What's even more challenging is that these patterns can feel so ingrained in us that we often don't even realize they're there. They are like background noise, constantly running in our minds, shaping how we see the world and how we interact with others. We may find ourselves withdrawing when things get tough, or we may sabotage relationships before they have a chance to get too close. These behaviors are defense mechanisms, the result of a childhood where we may not have felt safe enough to fully open up or be vulnerable. And over time, we've convinced ourselves that this is just the way life is, that we don't deserve any different. But healing requires us to challenge these beliefs. It requires us to take a step back and ask ourselves, what am I afraid of? Why do I act this way? It's about peeling back the layers of self-doubt, fear, and insecurity that have accumulated over the years and getting to the core of who we really are. A person worthy of love, connection, and acceptance, just as we are. Healing the inner child is not about erasing the past or pretending it never happened. It's about understanding that the past doesn't have to define us. It's about forgiving ourselves for carrying those old wounds and for unknowingly carrying the weight of the past into our present. It's about realizing that as adults, we have the power to rewrite our stories. We can choose to let go of the beliefs that no longer serve us and create new, healthier patterns of thinking and behaving. This journey is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about acknowledging that the pain we've carried doesn't have to continue to dictate our choices. When we take the time to heal, we not only free ourselves from the pain of the past, but we also open up the possibility for deeper, more meaningful relationships and a healthier sense of self-worth. The process is not easy, but it is incredibly transformative. In the end, healing the inner child is about reclaiming your power and stepping into your own truth. When we finally stop running from the pain and embrace it with love and compassion, we unlock the door to true healing. And it's through this healing that we begin to feel whole. When you begin the process of healing your inner child, one of the most significant realizations you'll come to is that you're not just healing the child you once were. You're also healing the adult you are now. Many of us carry the weight of our unresolved childhood traumas into our adult lives without even realizing it. We build emotional walls, struggle with intimacy, or act out of fear and insecurity because those old wounds are still affecting us. Healing your inner child is about bringing light to those dark corners, about acknowledging the pain that was once ignored, and finally allowing yourself the space to heal. This healing process isn't just about addressing the big, dramatic moments of your childhood. It's also about recognizing the smaller, quieter hurts, the moments when you felt invisible, neglected, or unloved. Perhaps you were the child who never felt seen, who learned to retreat into yourself because the world around you didn't feel safe or nurturing. Those moments of isolation, of feeling disconnected from others, left their mark. And, without proper healing, they manifest in the form of deep-seated fears as an adult. Fears of rejection, abandonment, or not being good enough. We begin to hide pieces of ourselves to protect against further pain. And in doing so, we rob ourselves of the chance to experience the joy and love we deserve. The adult you are today still carries echoes of that child, the one who didn't receive the love, attention, or validation they needed. But the beauty of healing is that, as an adult, you now have the tools to show up for yourself in a way you couldn't when you were younger. You can give that inner child what they needed all those years ago: love, compassion, and acceptance. The emotional wounds you carry are not permanent, and through self-awareness and self-compassion you can begin to rewrite the narrative of your life. One of the most freeing aspects of healing your inner child is recognizing that you are no longer at the mercy of those past experiences. You can break free from the patterns that were created out of fear, rejection, or neglect. You are no longer bound by the idea that you are unworthy of love or success or happiness. As you heal, you begin to replace those old, limiting beliefs with new ones that are rooted in self-love, respect, and an understanding that you deserve everything life has to offer. When you start healing your inner child, you also start breaking free from the chains that have kept you stuck in unhealthy cycles, whether in relationships, work, or your sense of self-worth. This journey may not always be easy. There will be moments of discomfort as you confront old wounds, but remember that healing is a process, not a destination. It's about gently uncovering the parts of yourself that were once hidden and giving them the space to heal. It's about embracing your imperfections and learning to love yourself for who you are, not who you think you should be. And in doing so, you unlock the ability to form deeper, more authentic connections with others, because you are no longer carrying the weight of unresolved pain. The more you heal, the more you realize that you are not defined by the past, but empowered by it. You've learned from it, grown from it, and now you have the strength to move forward, free from the chains that once held you back. Healing your inner child isn't just about healing yourself, it's about creating the life and relationships you've always deserved, based on love, authenticity, and deep inner peace. Healing your inner child is not just about addressing past hurts, It's about creating a new, healthier relationship with yourself moving forward. So often, we define ourselves by the experiences we've had, especially the painful ones. But when you start the process of healing, you begin to understand that your story doesn't have to be defined by the wounds of the past. You can rewrite the narrative of your life in a way that empowers you and frees you from the limitations that once held you back. One of the greatest gifts of healing your inner child is that it helps you reconnect with your own innate sense of worthiness. As children, we absorb the messages that we are worthy or unworthy of love, success, and happiness. These messages often come from our environment, whether through the words spoken to us or the actions we witness. When you heal your inner child, you begin to challenge these old limiting beliefs. You start to understand that your worth isn't contingent on anyone else's validation. It's inherent. It always was. And as you embrace that truth, you stop seeking approval from outside sources. You begin to rely on your own internal compass, trusting that you are enough, just as you are. The process of healing your inner child also teaches you how to set healthier boundaries. Many of us grow up learning to prioritize others' needs over our own, or we were never shown how to stand up for ourselves in a way that's loving but firm. This lack of boundaries can lead to resentment, burnout, and unhealthy relationships as we continue to give and give without ever receiving the love and respect we deserve. When you heal your inner child, you learn that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's a way of taking care of yourself, of honoring your own needs and feelings. You begin to understand that true love and respect start with yourself. And from that place of self-respect, you are better able to show up for others in a way that is grounded and authentic. As you heal, you also begin to rediscover the joy of living. Childhood is supposed to be a time of wonder and exploration, yet many of us lost that spark along the way. Life may have become about surviving rather than thriving, about just getting by rather than embracing the fullness of what's possible. Healing your inner child helps you reclaim that joy, that curiosity, and that sense of possibility that you once had. You begin to approach life with fresh eyes, seeing opportunities and beauty where before you only saw limitations and pain. The things that once seemed impossible now feel within reach because you've broken free from the chains that kept you small and afraid. This journey is deeply personal, and the road to healing is not always linear. There will be days when the wounds seem raw, when it feels like progress is slow. But as you move through the process, you begin to see changes, not just in your emotions and thoughts, but in your external world. Your relationships shift. You attract different people, ones who reflect the love and respect you now show yourself. Your career flourishes because you no longer operate from a place of fear or insecurity. Healing your inner child creates ripples that extend far beyond yourself. It transforms every area of your life. The most beautiful part of healing is that it allows you to fully step into your power. You no longer operate from a place of scarcity or fear, but from a place of abundance and confidence. You realize that you are the creator of your own life, capable of shaping your destiny with the love and compassion you've learned to cultivate within yourself.